Welcome to Solving Logarithmic Equations. We are not going to focus on the inequalities today. Talking about solving log equations, first thing we want to do, since we know the inverse or the opposite of log is exponential, and since our variable is here, what we want to do is start by changing the log into an exponential. So please remember the problem starts with the base, which would be the number at the bottom there. So it's base 8. The exponent is what it equals, so it'll be 4 over 3, then equals the x. So what I want to talk about is how would we solve something like this. So there's a little trick I'm going to show you. So what we worked with before was solving exponentials. We want to change 8 to its exponentiated form. So 8 we know is 2 cubed. And then now we're going to keep that 4/3 power on the outside. Well, if you remember, when we take an exponent to an exponent, we multiply. Well, if I'm multiplying a whole number and a fraction, if you remember, we can cross cancel. So this 3 on top here cancels out the 3 on bottom. So all it is 2 to the 4th. And then we just have to figure out what 2 to the 4th is. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. So 2 to the 4th is 16. And that's our answer. Why don't you guys go ahead and take a look at another one. We'll see if I can ask you some questions to walk you through it. Okay, so now that you've gone through that, if you didn't quite understand, remember again, you need to change your log to exponential form. So your base is 27, the exponent is 2/3, and then equals n. So again, we are going to change this number to the exponentiated form. So 27 is 3 cubed. Then we want to put the 2/3 power on it. And remember that exponent to exponent, you multiply. So what that does is this 3 here cancels out the 3 on bottom. So it's 3 squared equals n. So that means n equals 9. So let's go on to the one other type of problem that you'll have in today's assignment. So the difference between this and the last one is there is a log on both sides. This is supposed to be log base 4, and then of x squared equals log base 4 of negative 6x minus 8. What you will notice is they both have the same log on both sides. So if you have a log on both sides, you can go ahead and drop those logs off. But again, that's only if it's on both sides, because remember, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So if you only have a log on one side, you have to change it to your exponential form. So now all we have left is x squared equals negative 6x minus 8. So if you look at this, this is a quadratic equation because we have an x squared. So if you remember, we have to first get it to equal 0. So we have to move over both the negative 6x and the minus 8. So we get x squared plus 6x plus 8 equals 0. Then from there, we always have to factor. So we're going to do our smile. If you remember, the first two numbers here have to multiply to be the first number. So that's going to give you x and x. And then the last two numbers have to multiply to give you the last number. So to get 8, I'm going to do a plus 4 and a plus 2. Remember when we check our smile, that gives us a 4x. And then that gives us a 2x. So 4x plus 2x does give me this number in the middle, because 4 plus 2 is 6. Now remember, we're not done. We have to now set them each equal to 0. So x plus 4 equals 0, and then x plus 2 equals 0. So when we solve this, we get x equals negative 4 and x equals negative 2. Now last thing we're going to have to do with this is check this, because we do have some exponents. The big thing we need to remember when we check is you cannot take the log of a negative number. Well, why? Because that is like the answer of our problem. So we're not going to, just because we take a number to an exponent, remember, does not make it negative. So if I take this negative 4 and I plug it in here for this x squared, I get a positive 16, which is okay. I take the negative 4 and I plug it in over here. Negative 6 times negative 4 would give us a positive 24, minus 8 would also give me a positive 16. So negative 4 is an answer. Same thing when I plug in the negative 2. If I plug the negative 2 in for the x squared, that would give me a 4. If I plug the negative 2 over here, negative 6 times negative 2 would give you positive 12. Minus 8 would also give you 4. So that means that negative 2 is also a solution. So again, the big thing that you watch out for is you cannot take the log of a negative number. So last thing I want you to do is go ahead and try this one. So if you want to go ahead and see it worked out, again, because there's a log on both sides, I can go ahead and mark them off. I get x squared equals x plus 20. Being that it is quadratic because I have an x squared, I have to make it equal 0. So x squared minus x minus 20 equals 0, because remember when you move terms to the other side of an equal sign, you change the sign. Then you have to factor. So the first two must give you an x squared, so I use x and x. The last two have to give you the negative 20. So I'm going to do a minus 5 and a plus 4, because I know the difference between those two is that negative one that's in the middle. So if we do the smile, we get the negative 5x, and then we get the 4x. Negative 5 plus 4 would give you negative 1. And the last thing, we have to set each of them equal to 0. So x minus 5 equals 0. X plus 4 equals 0. So that means x equals a positive 5. X equals a negative 4. When I plug them both back in, 5 squared is 25. 5 plus 20 is 25. So those are both positive. So the 5 is okay. When I plug the negative 4 in, negative 4 squared is a positive 16. And negative 4 plus 20 is also a positive 16. So those give me positive answers. So both of those are okay. So our answer here should have been A.